inside and feeling I could sick up every bit of pizza I had ever eaten. Oh, my brothers, since the day I was weaned. All right, said this Dr. Brodsky. He could be taken back to his bed. Then he patted me on the plateau and said, Good, good, a very promising start, grinning all over his lidso. Then he waddled out, Dr. Branham after him. But Dr. Branham gave me a very droogy and sympathetic type smile, as though he had nothing to do with all this vesh, but was forced into it as I was. Anyhow, they freed my blood from the chair, and they let go the skin of my glasses so that I could open and shut them again. And I shut them, oh my brothers, with the pain and throb in my Gulliver. And then I was carried to the old wheelchair and taken back to my Malinky bedroom. The undervec who wheeled me singing away at some hound and horny pop song, so that I snarled, Shut it, thou! But he only smacked and said, Never mind, friend, and then sang louder. So I was put into the bed and still felt Bolnoy, but could not sleep. But soon I started to feel that soon I might start to feel that I might soon start to feel just a malinky bit better. And then I was brought some nice hot chai with plenty of moloko and sagar, and beating that, I knew that horrible nightmare was in the past and all over. And then Dr. Branham came in, all nice and smiling. He said, Well, by my calculations, you should be starting to feel all right again. Yes. Sir, I said, wary. I did not quite cope at what he was getting at, worrying about calculations, seeing that getting better from feeling Bolnoy is your own affair and nothing to do with calculations. He sat down, all nice and droogy, on the bed's edge and said, Dr. Brodsky is pleased with you. You had a very positive response. Tomorrow, of course, there'll be 2 sessions, morning and afternoon, and I should imagine that you'll be feeling a bit limp at the end of the day. But we have to be hard on you. You have to be cured. I said, You mean I have to sit through? I have to look at... Oh no, I said, it was horrible. Of course it was horrible, smiled Dr. Branham. Violence is a very horrible thing. That's what you're learning now. Your body is learning it. But, I said, I don't understand about feeling sick like I did. I never used to feel sick before. I used to feel very the opposite. Doing it or watching it, I used to feel real horror show. I just don't understand why, or how, or what. Life is a very wonderful thing, said Dr. Branham, in a very holy gallows. The process of life, the makeup of the human organism. Who can fully understand these miracles? Dr. Brodsky is, of course, a remarkable man. What is happening to you now should happen to any normal, healthy human organism contemplating the actions of the forces of evil, the workings of the principle of destruction. You are being made sane. You are being made healthy. That I will not have, I said, nor can understand at all. What you've been doing is to make me feel very, very ill. Do you feel ill now? He said, still with the old droogy smile on his litso. Drinking tea, resting, having a quiet chat with a friend. Surely you're not feeling anything but well. I glistened and felt for pain and sickness in my Gulliver and plot in a cautious way. But it was true, brothers, that I felt real horror show and even wanting my dinner. I don't get it, I said. You must be doing something to make me feel ill. And I sort of frowned about that, thinking. You felt ill this afternoon, he said, because you're getting better. When we're healthy, we respond to the presence of the hateful with fear and nausea. You're becoming healthy, that's all. You'll be healthier still this time tomorrow. Then he patted me on the noggin and went out, and I tried to puzzle the whole vest out as best as I could. What it seemed to me was that the wire and other vestiges that were fixed to my plot perhaps were making me feel ill, and that it was all a trick, really. I was still puzzling out all this and wondering whether I should refuse to be strapped down to this chair tomorrow and start a real bit of threatening with them all, because I had my rights, when another Chelovek came in to see me. He was a smiling, starry Vec, who said he was what he called the discharge officer, and he carried a lot of bits of paper with him. He said, "Where will you go when you leave here?" I hadn't really thought about that sort of vest at all, and it only now really began to dawn on me that I'd be a fine, free Magic very soon. And then I viddied that would only be if I played it everybody's way and did not start any threatening and screeching and refusing and so on. I said, "Oh, I shall go home, back to my P&M. He didn't get Nadsat to talk at all, so I said, to my parents in their dear old flat block. "I see," he said, "and when did you last have a visit from your parents?" "A month," I said, "very near. They suspended visiting day for a bit, because one Prestupnik getting some blasting powder smuggled in across the wires from his tista. A real Cali trick to play on the innocent, punishing them as well. So it's near a month since I had a visit." "I see," said this Vec. "And have your parents been informed of your transfer and impending release?" That had a real lovely spook, that did, that Slovo release. I said, "No." Then I said, "It will be a nice surprise for them, that, won't it? Me just walking in through the door and saying, 'Here I am, back, a free Vec again.' Yes, the real horror show." "Right," said the discharge officer Vec. "We'll leave it at that. So long as you have somewhere to live. Now, there's the question of your having a job so real near, a fat grin all over his rod. So I fisted up and went smack at his litso. But he pulled himself away real scary, grinning still, and my rooker just punched air. Very puzzling this was, and I frowned as he left, smacking his Gulliver off. And then, my brothers, I felt real sick again, just like in the afternoon, just for a couple of minutes. It then passed off scurry, and when they brought my dinner in, I found I had a fair appetite, and was ready to grunk away at the roast chicken. But it was funny, that starry Jelovec asking for a tolchok in the litso, and it was funny feeling sick like that. What was even funnier was when I went to sleep that night. Oh, my brothers, I had a nightmare, and, as you might expect, it was one of those bits of film I'd videoed in the afternoon. A dream or nightmare is really only like a film inside your Gulliver, except that it is as though you could walk into it and be part of it. And this is what happened to me. It was a nightmare of one of the bits of film they showed me near the end of the afternoon-like session. All of smacking Malchicks doing the ultra-violent on a young Tista who was screeching away in her red grovy, her platties all ras-rased, real horror show. I was in this fillying about, smacking away and being like the ringleader, dressed in the height of Nadsat fashion. And then, at the height of all this tratzing and toll-jogging, I felt like paralysed and wanting to be very sick, and all the other Malchicks had a real grumpy smack at me. Then I was threatening my way back to being awake all through my own grovy, pints and quarts and gallons of it, and then I found myself in my bed in this room. I wanted to be sick, so I got out of the bed, all trembly, so as to go off down the corridor to the old vase. But, behold, brothers, the door was locked, and, turning round, I pitied for like the first raz that there were bars on the window, and so I reached for the like pot in the Malinky cupboard beside the bed. I pitied that there would be no escaping from any of all this. Worse, I did not dare to go back into my own sleeping Gulliver. I soon found I did not want to be sick after all, but then I was boogly of getting back into bed to sleep, but soon I fell smack into sleep and did not dream any more. Chapter 6. Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! I kept on screeching out. Turn it off, you crusty bastards, for I can stand no more. It was the next day, brothers, and I had truly done my best, morning and afternoon, to play it their way, and sit like a horror show, smiling, cooperative Malchick in the chair of torture, while they flashed nasty bits of ultra-violence on the screen, my glasses clipped open to video all, my plot and rookers and noggats fixed to the chair, so I could not get away. What I was being made to video now was not really a vesh I would have thought to be too bad before, it being only 3 or 4 Malchicks crusting in a shop and filling their garments with gutter, at the same time filling about with the screeching, starry Tista running the shop, toll-jogging her, and letting the red gravy flow. But the throb and like crash, crash, crash in my Gulliver, and the wanting to be sick, and the terrible, dry, rasping thirstiness in my rot, all were worse than yesterday. Oh, I've had enough, I cried. It's not fair, you funny sods. And I tried to struggle out of the chair, but it was not possible, me being as good as stuck to it. First class, reached out this Dr. Brodsky. You're doing really well. Just one more, and then we are finished. What it was now was the story 1939 to 45 war again, and it was a very blobby and linny and crackly film you could pity had been made by the Germans. It opened with German eagles and the Nazi flag, with that like crooked cross that all Malchiks at school love to draw. And then there were very haughty and nadmany like German officers walking through streets that were all dust and bomb holes and broken buildings. Then you were allowed to pity ladies being shot against walls, officers giving the orders, and also horrible Nagoi bloods left lying in gutters, all like cages of bare ribs and white, thin nogas. Then there were ladies being dragged off, screeching, though not on the soundtrack, my brothers, the only sound being music, and being toe-chucked while they were dragged off. Then I noticed, in all my pain and sickness, what music it was that was like crackled and boomed on the soundtrack, and it was Ludwig van, the last movement of the Fifth Symphony, and I screeched like Bazoomi at that. Stop, I screeched. Stop, you Krasny, disgusting sods. It's a sin, that's what it is, you filthy, unforgivable sin, you bratchneys. They didn't stop right away, because there was only a minute or two more to go. Ladies being beaten up and all gravy, then more firing squads, then the old Nazi flag, and the end. But when the lights came on, this Dr. Brodsky and also Dr. Branham were standing in front of me, and Dr. Brodsky said, "What's all this about sin, eh?" do you think this has done? Tell me, what do you think we're doing to you? You're making me feel ill. I'm ill when I look at those filthy pervert films of yours. But it's not really the films that's doing it. But I feel that if you'll stop these films, I'll stop feeling ill. Right, said Dr. Brodsky. It's association, the oldest educational method in the world, and what really causes you to feel ill. These grasny, sodding vestiges that come out of my Gulliver and my plot, I said. That's what it is. Quaint, said Dr. Brodsky, like smiling. The dialect of the tribe. Do you know anything of its provenance, Branham? Odd bits of old rhyming slang, said Dr. Branham, who did not look quite so much like a friend anymore. A bit of gypsy talk, too, but most of the roots are Slav, propaganda, subliminal penetration. All right, said Dr. Brodsky, like impatient and not interested anymore. Well, he said to me, it isn't the wires. It's nothing to do with what's fastened to you. Those are just for measuring your reactions. What is it then? I pitied then, of course, what a bazoomy shoot I was, not to notice that it was the hypodermic shots in the Ruger. Oh, I creached. Oh, I pity all now. A filthy, galley, funny trick, an act of treachery. Sod you, and you won't do it again. I'm glad you've raised your objections now, said Dr. Brodsky. Now we can be perfectly clear about it. We can get this stuff of Ludovicos into your system in many different ways. Orally, for instance. But the subconscious method is the best. Don't fight against it, please. There's no point in your fighting. You can't get the better of us. Krasny Brajnes, I said, like snivelling. Then I said, I don't mind about the ultraviolence and all that cal. I put up with that. But it's not fair on the music. It's not fair. I should feel ill when I'm slushing lovely Ludwig van and G.F. Handel and others. All that shows you're an evil lot of bastards, and I shall never forgive you, sods. They both looked a bit like thoughtful. Then Dr. Brodsky said, delimitation is always difficult. The world is one. Life is one. The sweetest and most heavenly of activities partake in some measure of violence. The act of love, for instance. Music, for instance. You must take your chance, boy. The choice has been all yours. I didn't understand all these Slovos, but now I said, you needn't take it any further, sir. I changed my tune a malinky bit in my cunning way. You've proved to me that all this threatening and ultraviolence and killing is wrong, and terribly wrong. I've learned my lesson, sirs. I see now what I've never seen before. I'm cured, praise God. And I raised my glasses in a like holy way to the ceiling. But both these doctors shook their Gullivers like sadly, and Dr. Brodsky said, you're not cured yet. There's still a lot to be done. Only when your body reacts promptly and violently to violence, as to a snake, without further help from us, without medication. Only then I said, "But sirs, I see that it's wrong. It's wrong because it's against, society. It's wrong because every veg on earth has the right to live and be happy without being beaten and toe-chocked and knifed. I've learned a lot. Oh, really, I have." But Dr. Brodsky had a loud, long smack at that, showing all his white zubies, and said, "The hearsay of an age of reason, or some such slavos. I see what is right and approve, but I do what is wrong. No, my boy, you must leave it all to us. But be cheerful about it. It will soon be all over. In less than a fortnight now, you'll be a free man." Then he patted me on the plateau. Less than a fortnight. Oh, my brothers and friends, it was like an age. It was like from the beginning of the world to the end of it. To finish the 14 years without remission in nostalgia would have been nothing to it. Every day it was the same. When the debauchka with the hypodermic came round, though, 4 days after this go for eating with Dr. Brodsky and Dr. Branham, I said, "Oh, no you won't," and toe-choked her on the rugger, and the syringe went tinkle-clatter onto the floor. That was like Davidi, what they would do. What they did was to get 4 or 5 real bolshy, white-coated bastards of undervex to hold me down on the bed, toe-choking me with grinny litzos close to mine. And then this nurse Tista said, "You wicked, naughty little devil, you," while she jabbed my rugger with another syringe and squirted this stuff in, real brutal and nasty. And then I was wheeled off, exhausted to this, like hell sinny as before. Every day, my brothers, these films were like the same, all kicking and toe-choking and red, grovy, dripping off of litzos and plots, and spattering all over the camera lenses. It was usually grinning and smacking malchiks in the height of Nadsat fashion, or else tee-heeing Jap torturers or brutal Nazi kickers and shooters, and each day the feeling of wanting to die with the sickness and gulliver pains and aches in the zubies and horrible thirst grew really worse, until one morning I tried to defeat the bastards by crashing my Gulliver against the wall, so that I should toe-choke myself unconscious. But all that happened was I felt sick with pitying that this kind of violence was like the violence in the films. So I was just exhausted and was given the injection and was wheeled off like before. And then there came a morning when I woke up and had my breakfast of eggs and toast and jam and very hot milky chai. And then I thought, it can't be much longer now. Now must be very near the end of the time. I have suffered to the heights and cannot suffer any more. And I waited and waited, brothers, for this nurse Tista being so keen on pushing this Ludovico vesh into me, as they said. Don't I get that horrible sicky stuff rammed into my poor suffering rooker anymore? All over, like smacked this back, forever and ever, amen. You're all on your own now, boy, walking and all to the chamber of horrors, but you're still to be strapped down and made to see. Come on then, my little tiger. And I had to put my own overgown and tufels on and walk down the corridor to the cine mezzo. Now this time, oh my brothers, I was not only very sick, but very puzzled. There it was again, all the old ultra-violence and vex with their Gullivers smashed and torn, grovey, dripping Baptistas, screeching for mercy, and like private and individual filling in nastiness. And then there were the prison camps, and the Jews, in the grey foreign streets, full of tanks and uniforms and vex going down in withering rifle fire, this being the public side of it. And this time I could blame nothing for me feeling sick and thirsty and full of aches, except what I was forced to fiddy, my glasses still being clipped open and my knockers and plot fixed to the chair. But the set of wires and other vestiges no longer coming out of my plot and Gulliver. So what could it be but the films I was videoing that were doing this to me? Except, of course, brothers, that this Ludovico stuff was like a vaccination, and there it was, cruising about in my grovey, so that I would be sick always, forever and ever, amen, whenever I videoed any of this ultra-violence. So now I squared my rot and went boo-hoo-hoo, and the tears blotted out what I was forced to viddy in all blessed, runny, silvery dewdrops. But these white-coat Brajnis were scurry with their tashtugs to wipe the tears away, saying, there, wasum's all weepy den. And there it was again, all clear before my glasses, these Germans prodding beseeching and weeping Jews, Vex and Ginas and Malchiks and Devotchkas into mestos, where they would all snuff it of poison gas. Boo-hoo-hoo. I had to go again, and along they came to wipe the tears off, very scary. So I should not miss one solitary vest of what they were showing. It was a terrible and horrible day, oh my brothers and only friends. I was lying on the bed, all alone, that noche after my dinner of fat, thick mutton stew and fruit pie and ice cream, and I thought to myself, hell, there might be a chance for me if I get out now. I had no weapon though. I was allowed no britva here, and I had been shaved every other day by a fat, bald-headed feck who came to my bed before breakfast, 2 white-coated Brajnis standing by to viddy I was a good, non-violent Malchik. The nails on my rookers had been scissored and filed real short, so I could not scratch. But I was still scurry on the attack, though they had wakened me down, brothers, to a shadow of what I had been in the old free days. So now I got off the bed and went on